hushed history. Before we begin, find somewhere to relax. Settle into your chair, let your shoulders drop, and leave the modern world behind. You are safe here. We are going back to a time of shadows and secrets, to the gaslit streets of Victorian London. Listen closely. The year is 1888. In the East End of London, the district of Whitechapel is a sprawling heart of the British Empire. To the wealthy in the West End, it is a national disgrace. It is a place where 80,000 people are packed into decaying tenements and narrow alleyways. Here, life is measured in pennies. 55% of children die before the age of 5. For the women of Whitechapel, the struggle to survive often leads to the same desperate end. They seek shelter in the common lodging houses of Flower and Dean Street. A bed costs 4d. If they lack the money, they face the cold pavement of the street. The late August air is thick with the scent of coal smoke and rotting refuse. Slaughterhouses nearby add to the heavy atmosphere. It is a place of constant motion and deep shadows. On the night of August 31st, Mary Ann Nichols is walking the Whitechapel Road. Her friends know her as Polly. She is 43 years old and a mother of 5 children. She has lost everything to poverty. At 2:30 in the morning, she meets a friend at the corner of Osborne Street. She is cheerful because she has a new bonnet. She hopes to earn her lodging money for the night. She walks east toward Bucks Row. It is a lonely stretch of road lined with warehouses. At 3:40 in the morning, a car driver named Charles Cross spots a shape in a gateway. He thinks it is a discarded tarpaulin. As he approaches, he realizes it is a woman. Her skirt is pulled up and her body is still warm. When the police arrive, they find a scene that will change criminal history. Her throat has been severed by 2 deep cuts. The abdomen reveals a terrifying new reality. There are violent and precise mutilations. These suggest a purposeful act rather than a simple robbery. The news travels through the slums like fire. The police are baffled and the press begins to circle. While the city waits for an arrest, the shadow is already moving again. Eight days later, on September 8th, the sun rises over Hanbury Street. In the backyard of number 29, a resident looks out and sees the body of Annie Chapman. The violence has escalated. Annie is a widow who sold crochet work to survive. She has been killed with surgical focus. This time, the killer has taken something. Her uterus is missing. The neighborhood is now in the grip of a true panic. Rumors of a character called Leather Apron begin to spread. He is said to haunt the docks. The police are led by Inspector Aberline. They find themselves chasing ghosts in a city where every flickering street lamp creates suspects. They look for a man with anatomical knowledge. They seek someone who can vanish into a crowd while covered in blood. They do not know they are looking for a figure that will haunt the human imagination for over 140 years. This is the beginning of a cold case that remains open in the minds of many. The answers lay hidden in the blood and silk of the victims. For over a century, the truth remained out of reach. Now, modern science is finally catching up to the killer in the fog. By late September, the fear in Whitechapel has turned into a heavy, suffocating silence. The streets that once roared with the sounds of the night are now empty by dusk. This is no longer just a series of crimes. It is a psychological war. On the 27th of September, a letter arrives at the Central News Agency. It is written in red ink and addressed to the boss. author mocks the police for their clumsiness and promises to clip the ears of his next victim. He signs it with a name that will never be forgotten: Jack the Ripper. Three days later, the night of September 30th becomes the most infamous date in criminal history. It is known as the double event. At 1 in the morning, a jewelry salesman named Louis Deemschutz turns his pony and cart into Dudfield's yard. The horse stops suddenly, refusing to move forward. Deemschutz peers into the darkness and sees a bundle on the ground. It is the body of Elizabeth Stride. Her throat has been cut, but unlike the previous victims, she is not mutilated. A witness later claims to have seen her talking to a man just moments before. The police believe the killer was interrupted by the sound of the cart. The predator has been cheated of his ritual. This interruption makes him more dangerous. He does not retreat into the shadows. Instead, he moves with a terrifying speed and confidence through the labyrinth of the city. He walks nearly 3/4 of a mile to the edge of the City of London. There, in the corner of Mitre Square, he finds Catherine Eddowes. She has just been released from a police station for public intoxication. She is walking home alone. "45 minutes after the discovery of Elizabeth Stride, a police officer enters Mitre Square on his regular beat. In a dark corner near a warehouse, he finds Catherine Eddowes. The scene is a nightmare beyond anything the East End has witnessed. The killer has worked in total silence and absolute darkness. He has fulfilled the promise made in his letter. Part of Catherine's right ear has been cut away. Her face is mutilated and her kidney has been removed. The city wakes up to a state of total siege. 2 women have been killed within an hour. The killer has bypassed the boundaries of the Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police. He is taunting the authorities. early morning hours, a bloody piece of Catherine's apron is found in a doorway on Galston Street. Above it, a chalk message is scrawled on the wall. It speaks of the Jews and blame, but the police order it to be washed away before the sun rises. They fear a riot. The mystery is no longer a local tragedy. It is a global sensation. Every man in Whitechapel with a black bag or a sharp knife is a suspect. The letters continue to arrive, including a postcard that refers to the night as the double event. The author is playing a game with the world. But while the public focuses on the letters, the physical evidence is being preserved in a way no one in 1888 could understand. A silk shawl found at the scene of the second murder is about to become a time capsule. It will hold the biological secrets of the killer for over a century. The fog of the Victorian era is starting to lift, and the true face of the Ripper is finally coming into view. The atmosphere in London reaches a breaking point as November begins. A relentless rain falls over the city, washing the soot from the brickwork and turning the alleyways into rivers of mud. The panic of the previous months has settled into a grim, expectant terror. People are no longer looking for a monster. They are looking for a neighbor. The police have interviewed thousands of residents and searched hundreds of rooms, yet the killer remains a ghost. On the 9th of November, the final and most horrific act of the tragedy begins in a small room at 13 Miller's Court. Mary Jane Kelly is the youngest of the victims. She is only 25 years old and is described as possessing a fair complexion and a kind heart. Unlike the others, Mary has a room with a door she can lock. But on this cold morning, a rent collector knocks on that door and finds it bolted. He reaches through a broken window pane to pull back the curtain. he sees a sight that haunts him until his dying day. The violence visited upon Mary Jane Kelly is total. The killer has had hours of privacy in the heart of a crowded slum. He has systematically dismantled the room and the woman within it. This is the moment the Ripper becomes a legend, for after this morning, the murders simply stop. The investigation goes cold for over 100 years. The files are locked away and the suspects die in shadows. But the physical world remembers what the eyes forgot. Among the evidence preserved is a silk shawl. It was taken from the scene where Catherine Eddowes fell. It is a delicate item decorated with blue and gold flowers. For generations, it sat in the possession of a police officer's family. They believed it was stained with the blood of the victim. In the 21st century, that shawl is placed under the microscope of a modern laboratory. This is where the story shifts from the fog of the past to the cold light of the present. The shawl is subjected to advanced genetic testing. Scientists are not just looking for blood. They are looking for the biological footprint of the man who stood over the victim in the dark. They find cellular material that does not belong to Catherine. Using mitochondrial DNA sequencing, they begin a massive hunt through time. They compare these fragments to the descendants of the original suspects. The match is not a guess. It is a biological lock. The DNA points directly to Aaron Kosminski. He was a Polish barber who lived just 200 yards from where the first body was found. At the time of the murders, the police knew his name. They watched him. They noted his erratic behavior and his deep-seated hatred of women. But without a witness or a confession, they were powerless. Shortly after the final murder of Mary Jane Kelly, Kosminski's mind collapsed entirely. He was committed to an asylum where he spent the rest of his life in silence. The timing is perfect. The murders stopped because the predator was finally caged behind brick walls and iron bars. He was not a doctor or a royal. He was a man who blended into the crowd. The mystery that gripped the world for 14 decades has been stripped of its mask. We are left with the reality of a broken man in a broken city. The latest evidence from 2026 confirms what the Victorian police could only suspect. The ghost in the fog had a name and a face. As the modern world looks back at the gaslit streets of 1888, the silence is finally broken. The secrets of Whitechapel have been given up to the science of the future. The story of hushed history is no longer a legend. It is a closing chapter. Take a deep breath and return to the present. You are back in the light.